Alabama at LSU, Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 local time kickoff on ABC. They're telling me it's an elimination game. I'm hearing in my ear. I'm seeing all over the screen when I'm in the gym, and they've got ESPN and the like on the TV monitors. They're telling me it's an elimination game, and it may be. It may not be. It probably is. However, I want to try and sell you on another aspect of this. It may be crazy, but I just want you to follow me here. And if you're new to college football, this may not make sense to you. But what if I told you that this is Alabama versus LSU in Death Valley on a Saturday night, and you don't really need playoff implications on this game for it to mean the entire world to you? That is my humble suggestion. But if you need the playoff implications, if you need the elimination game sticker on the side of it to make it matter to you, then that is your right. I am just saying this game has had mega importance long before we ever had a college football playoff. So with that being said, who has the edge here? I think everything works off run game success rate. It's been a mixed bag for both of these teams this year if you've watched any of them. And now both of them are off a bye. So that automatically means everybody fixed everything and we self-scouted and we should be good to go. Now Bama, last time we saw them, played Missouri. They had 271 on the ground. Last time I saw LSU, they couldn't run themselves out of a wet paper bag against A&M, and to make it worse, they gave up 245. There is no reason, when I look at LSU, for them to be sixth in passing and in the one teens in running the ball this year. Some of you just have bad offensive lines. Some of you have no talent at tailback. I don't think I just described LSU. I think they flat out haven't leaned on it enough. They haven't committed to it enough. I would expect them to try and rectify the error of their way there. How much success they have is almost secondary to defenses having to at least honor it and us not having to drop back 50 times trying to throw the ball, and 2 or 3 of them end up in the wrong hands, and that's the ball game. Now, Bama, if you want to run the ball on them, you can run the ball on them. They've given up 130 on the ground in 6 of their last 7. LSU is 48th in the country in run defense. So either side here, if you really commit to it, if you lean on it, I still believe both of them have the personnel where they should be able to run the ball. Not for 7 yards per carry, but give me 4. Give me 4.5. Just give me enough to where I don't have to look at explosive plays through the air on Alabama side or just Garrett Nussmeier in general on LSU side and say, save us, save us. They should be integral parts of the game, but man, it should be complimentary, a whole lot more than it has been. Which brings me to my next point. Can't wait to watch the matchup in this game of Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer and kind of the Alabama offensive brain trust against Blake Baker and this LSU defense. I was so pleasantly surprised when they went up to Arkansas and did what they did. And then I was so disheartened when I watched what A&M did to LSU in the second half. And similarly, I've watched Alabama look discombobulated at times offensively this year. Now, they've shown flashes because they got really good athletes. So, of course, they've shown flashes. But the consistency, drive to drive, quarter to quarter has not been there. Bama is 132nd. I'm just going to continue hammering this point home until the stat profile changes. Let me talk to you about third downs here, and specifically what Blake Baker could do here. Bama is 132nd in the country in converting third and long. I didn't say they're 132nd at converting third down because they've been in a lot of third and longs. I said if you take every team and filter out just their third and long attempts, Bama's 132nd in the country. We used to not even have that many teams in FBS. That's how bad that is. But the good news is they're 10th in third and short. So it does not take the smartest amongst us to understand if Bama can stay ahead of the chains, Bama probably wins this game unless they turn the ball over a lot. The problem is they have not stayed ahead of the chains. And in fact, on the road, they've really struggled here. More on that in a second. So how effective and how comfortable, for lack of a better term, does Alabama look offensively early in the game? I think we'll get a really good indicator. If it's constantly working behind chains, if it's constantly 1st and 15 because you jumped off sides and Tiger Stadium's just sinking its teeth into you, well, they can win, but it's probably going to be a long night in the process. But on the other side, I remember what Marcel Reed did against LSU's defense. I remember how it looked like they hadn't even given a passing thought to the quarterback running the ball in the second half of that game. Now, I personally believe that caught him a little bit off guard. That's not to make an excuse, because there is no excuse to not be prepared for the backup quarterback, especially when said quarterback has played meaningful minutes this year. You're not planning for any of that here. It's Jalen Milroe's game, and so how well do they stop him? Or for that matter, how effective are Milroe's legs? It really kind of brings us to some of the unpredictables, some of the external factors here. Jalen Milroe, if you don't want to call it his health, because on the record they've said nothing's wrong with him, I'll call it his effectiveness, his full-scale, top-to-bottom effectiveness as a player. When he's right, he can throw the deep ball as well as anyone, and he can kill you with his legs. When he's not, it looks like he's looked over the last few games going into the bye week. So which Jalen Milroe, I guess, do we get? Bama also 128th in penalty yards per game this year. I was there when they played in Tennessee. Neyland Stadium affected that team. If Neyland affects you, Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night will absolutely affect you if you let it. And I'm of the belief that once a team has developed that kind of profile about itself, they are prone to heavy penalization. That doesn't clean itself up. In my experience, if it's a problem in week 3, it's going to be a problem in week 9. It's going to be a problem in week 14. And maybe you can work your way out of that hole. Maybe you can't. But it would really surprise me if penalties weren't at least somewhat of an issue for Alabama in this game. But the other side is, what about interceptions for Garrett Nussmeier? They've been there. They've been there because they don't have a ground game that they can lean on and supplement offensively, and so they have to lean on him too much. And he's not dependable enough where you can put the entire game on his shoulders. I think he's a really good player. I think he's very talented. He is as big a wild card game-to-game at quarterback as LSU, the team, is a wild card in the whole college football playoff picture. Jalen Milroe's home and road splits don't inspire great confidence in me. It's not drastic, but it's noticeable enough. He's not the first quarterback to play better at home than he does on the road. But it's all about game control and taking it early, and they haven't been able to do that enough this year. I think because of that, we'll know early whether it's a game that we can expect either team to need 30-plus to win, or is 24, 27, is that good enough here? Alabama defense, they have forced turnovers this year, so if I got a guy who throws a lot of them, and I got a defense over there who's forced some of them, including coming up big multiple times in that Georgia game, Q Colin showing us the highlights here. Yeah, that's there. I don't know how to predict it. I have no idea how to predict that that's coming, but it is there. So here's where I land on this game. I've got very little idea because so much of what we just talked about for the past about 8 minutes or so is not terribly predictive. I don't know how many penalty yards you're going to have in a given game. I can guess. I don't know how many times your quarterback's going to throw picks. I can guess. But I do know to a large extent that probably decides this game. And so let's take a look at what the model thinks. FanDuel right now is at Alabama minus 2.5. The model is a little bit higher on LSU than our friends at FanDuel. They've got Bama, well, the model, which is sitting right next to me, has Alabama minus 1. The dependable aspects of Alabama are a little bit too shaky for me to back them right now. Conversely, I could say the same thing about LSU, which is why I value home field a lot in this game, a whole lot. Sometimes I don't. There have been versions of Alabama that I actually liked on the road more than I like at home. This year's version is not that. Now, they can go prove me wrong on Saturday night, but they're going to have to. I'm going to make the road team prove me wrong here. I'm going to take the home team to win, and LSU would cover in the process of winning this game. So slight lean to LSU. There will not be a dime of your boys' money bet on that one.